So it was the middle of fifth year where it all started. What I didn't know then, what I now know was depression. From the outside looking in, I was this guy living the idyllic life. I had a loving family, a big circle of friends, and a Dublin career just began. So as I said, my Dublin career just began, and it was the middle of fifth year, my second year of Dublin minor football. Our aim this year was to reach the All-Ireland final and go ahead and win it. We were lucky enough to achieve that. We reached the All-Ireland final come that September time, and we went ahead and defeated Meath by 6 points in this final. I was now 6 months through my journey through depression, and little did people know when I was putting up that poker face, putting up that mask, that I was crumbling inside. All they seen was this guy going up the Hogan Stand steps in front of 80,000 people, living this idyllic life. Little did they know. My crutch, my medication around this time, and continued to be, was football. Just a couple of months after the All-Ireland minor final, I received a phone call from Michael Deegan, who was Jim Gavin's selector at the time. I just turned 18 years of age, and he met me with the news that Jim wants me up with the Dublin senior football team come January of 2013. So you can imagine then the internal dialogue that I was having with myself. I really need to speak up here, but I'm the guy living the idyllic life. I've just been called up to the Dublin senior football team at 18 years of age. How can I tell people I'm crumbling inside? So as I did, I got on with my life, and it came to that January 2013. I was now sat in a dressing room with people who I idolised. Stephen Cluxon, Bernard Brogan, Paul Flynn. I was now sitting beside these guys and training away with them. It was the middle of 6th year, as I said. My leaving cert had come and gone, and I could solely focus on the football championship ahead that summer. We were fortunate enough to reach the All-Ireland final come that September time. And just a year apart, I was now walking up the Hogan Stand steps for the second time in just over a year to collect the Sam Maguire at 18 years of age. Little did people know I was a year and a half through my journey through depression. Yet again, they seen this pedestal-like figure, this limelight figure, going up on top of the Hogan Stand steps to lift the Sam Maguire. Just a week after this, I had the first thoughts of dying by suicide. The internal dialogue that I was having with myself was, I'm 18 years of age, I've won the Sam Maguire, I'm achieving everything I should have achieved in my life to date, and yet I want no part of this world. I couldn't say anything to anyone. I felt like I had to put up that poker face again, that mask, and that crutch, that medication around that time was football. So it brought me to a very crucial time in my life, January 2014, now 2 years on through my journey through depression, with no one else none the wiser. It was the end of January. I was now playing for the under-21 footballers. We had a friendly match down in Cork. And right to this day, whether it be college football, inter-county football, or club football, my mum and dad travelled to the matches right around the country. So as I said, it was a friendly match down in Cork, and we were playing them in an under-21 match. Halfway through this match, unbeknownst to me, my mum received a phone call from my uncle to say her dad had passed away, my granddad had passed away. Obviously, I was unaware of it at this time, so my mum and dad had followed off home, and I followed in shortly after, just coming off the team bus. It was there where I met them in the kitchen at 1 o'clock in the morning, and straight away alarm bells started ringing for me, thinking, there's something not quite right here. Why are they standing here in the kitchen at 1 o'clock in the morning? It was here where they greeted me with the news that my granddad unfortunately passed away. And such was the lack of emotion, the numbness that I was experiencing at this time. I simply said, I'm sorry, and I left the room. And that was the first warning sign for my mum and dad to think such a piece of devastating news met with such a lack of emotion. And I would have been so close to my granddad. I would have visited him every couple of weeks where he would have told me I should have scored another 10 goals in whatever match I was participating in. So with a reaction such like that, it was the first warning sign for them. Around this January time, I began to have the internal dialogue of I need to speak up, because the reality of it was life or death for me at this stage. But because of the passing of my granddad, I felt like I had to put up that poker face yet again, just through the protection mechanism for my mum and family alike. So the funeral had come and gone, a couple of weeks had passed at this stage, and I began to build up the courage yet again to maybe say something to them. Unfortunately, just after 6 weeks after the passing of my granddad, my nanny had passed away too, both on my mum's side. So you could imagine what I was thinking. Whatever I'm going through in my life can't even compare to what my mum is going through and family alike at this particular stage. So as I did for those previous 2 years, I shut up shop, I put up that poker face and said everything was absolutely okay. So as I said, it was the under-21 championship going on at this particular stage. And it brought me to a Wednesday morning. I had the Leinster final that evening down in Portlaoise. And that morning on the Wednesday, my mum had met me in the sitting room in a flood of tears. As to why I was crying, I don't know. I was crying in call at this stage. I couldn't control my emotions. I'd sat there for 2 or 3 hours and wept with my mum right by my side. She knew she needed to break this trend, so she had actually contacted my middle sister, Mairead, to get me out of the house and distract me for a couple of hours before the game. Mairead's idea to distract me, and I don't know why she chose this, the morning of a Leinster final, she brought me on a 2-hour cliff walk up the hills of Howth. Why she chose this, I don't know. But nevertheless, it was known that I had that listening ear, that listening shoulder right beside me that I so deeply needed for those previous 2 years. I didn't speak a whole lot on this walk. I think I spoke no more than 5 words. The walk had obviously come to an end, and as if when I came back into the car, when I shut the door, all those thoughts and feelings from the previous 2 years came bundling straight back in. And it was the first time that I was facing up to maybe football can't even be my outlet, such was the inner turmoil I was experiencing. And to this day, I don't know why, I had Desi Farrell, my manager at the time, a push of a button away to tell him I wasn't going to be playing in this match. For whatever reason, I don't know to this day, as I said, I didn't go through with this phone call. So I went home and prepared for the match as I always did. I got my gear bag ready and I had met the lads in the team hotel for the pre-match meal. I didn't eat anything here. I think I had half a sup of water and that was it. We were on the team bus on the way to Portlaoise. I sat myself up at the top of the bus with my hood up, and I'm sure you can all relate, where I had my headphones on. I had a certain playlist, a certain set of songs that brought me to a happier place, whether it be with friends or family or a particular holiday. And I played it as loud as I could, solely to drown out the thoughts that I was feeling at this particular stage. Halfway through this bus journey, I had actually texted my middle sister, Mairead, to say, I can't go through with this. I really can't go through with this. I'm going through such a difficult time. She texted me back to say, we're right behind you. The family is right behind you. We'll be at the match and we want to see you out on that pitch. So I did. We arrived at the ground and I went in the dressing room and I prepared for the match. As I ran out there on the pitch in Portlaoise, I would say to this day, it was the most satisfying 60 minutes that I have ever played in my life. I was like a kid in a playground again. I was literally running away from the inner turmoil that I was experiencing for too long at this stage. I didn't want the match to end, but inevitably it did. Fortunately enough though, we were victorious in this particular game, and added to that, I was awarded man of the match. So as I was walking up these steps to collect my award, yet again this pedestal-like figure up in these stands, little did people know what I was experiencing only 12 hours previous in a flood of tears with my mum in my sitting room. They just seen this guy yet again living this idyllic life. So as I did, I went back into the dressing room and I put my award back into the bag and I went off straight home with my mum and dad. I'll bring you back just a week previous. I have 3 sisters, one of which, Michelle, my oldest sister, I maybe confide in her a bit more than I do with my other 2 sisters. My mum and dad had known what was going on for me at this particular stage, so they had booked a trip away to Stockholm for a couple of days, maybe to tell her, I should say, what I was going through. Little did they know, I couldn't make sense of it. The cloudiness was at an all-time high. Nonetheless, I was off to Stockholm the following day, and I had met my sister with the news that I had met my mum and dad. I've been experiencing this for the last 2 years, and in recent months, I've had thoughts of dying by suicide. Such a piece of difficult news for my sister, so many thousand miles away, so deeply wanting to help me, but that's all I could furnish her with. So that trip was essentially null and void, and I arrived back home on that Sunday. I text my manager, Desi Farrell. We were 2 weeks out from an All-Ireland semi-final at this particular stage. I text my manager, Desi Farrell, to say, look, I need to meet up with you tomorrow. I need to have a chat with you. The reason I did, Desi actually had previous with depression, and he was also a previous psychiatric nurse. So I was hoping he was going to give me the answers that I didn't have. The next day, I'd met him in Costa Coffee out in Santry. And for 45 or 50 minutes, I was in a flood of tears. I was in a packed coffee shop. People were having their morning breakfast, their morning tea, whatever it may be. And I was just there crying on call. I was embarrassed, but I couldn't control any of my emotions. The 5 minutes that I did get to talk to him, I let him in on what happened for the previous 2 years for me. Desi had promised me that he would get the help that I so deeply need at this particular stage and set me up with an appointment with a psychologist in 2 days' time. The following day, as I said, we were preparing for this All-Ireland semi-final against Cavan in 2 weeks' time. It was the Tuesday. We had a training camp out in DCU, and as I said, my mum and dad knew what was going on for me, so they didn't want me driving on my own. My dad had actually drove me out to the DCU for the training camp, and the training had come and gone. We were due to have a meeting in Castleknock Hotel just after that, just 15 minutes away from DCU. Along this journey, I took a massive spike in heart rate, a massive spike in adrenaline, and what had transpired next was a panic attack. I had blacked out, and my next abiding memory was being woken up in St. Patrick's Mental Hospital by two softly spoken nurses. And I don't know if anyone has seen the film Shutter Islands. Anyone right here? A couple of people. Those of you who haven't, basically the perception that they give off in this film is a dark, dreary room, people in straitjackets, headbutting walls. And this is where I thought I was. It was anything but. I went into the breakfast room and I met people who I'm still friends with today. They made the first couple of days, that bit easier than maybe what it should have been. I spent 11 weeks in St. Pat's. I built up tools and resources that would let me be able to cope outside after 11 weeks. So as I said, 11 weeks had gone by, and my integration back into society was due. 5 years on, a lot has happened for me. I most recently graduated from an undergraduate degree in DCU in sports science just last year. I'm now studying a master's, and in recent times, I've actually become an ambassador for Pieta House. And O'Brien's Publishers, one of the biggest book publishing companies in the country here, has approached me, and I'm now 6 months through my journey through writing this book that they've asked me to do. And I'll just finish off on this. I've been doing talks like this the last 3 or 4 years in the hope that 1 or 2 people in the room that I'm talking to can be effective and spread my message outside the 4 walls. I hope I've done that today. Thank you.